Now, there is another technology, and this leads to what Warren has found out in Android 12 and what are the bugs, what is new, some comments of Google I/O. But before we discuss that, there is a new thing that I came across this week. If you have any non Pixel phone and if you unlock your bootloader, now, if you have a Samsung phone, it is impossible to do, but or difficult to do. But if you unlock the bootloader, after you unlock the bootloader and maybe set up your device or skip the setup, whatever you want to do, you go to the About phone and tap 7 times on the build number, and this will enable developer options. Then you go to developer options and you will find something called DFU loader. You click on this DFU loader and it will give you two options. One is GSI without GMS. GMS is Google Mobile Services, and the other one is GSI plus GMS. So you select the GSI plus GMS, it will download the system image, and for some odd reason, it starts downloading from 54%. I don't know why it does that. And then it will tell you that dynamic system is ready to use. Restart your phone to use dynamic system. You restart your phone and do not do any modifications to this system now because it is temporary. So you can now try out Android 12 without any modification to a phone running Android 11. And if you find any problem after you switch to Android 12, all you need to do to go back to Android 11 is just restart your phone and you will go back to Android 11. So you won't lose any data. If you want written guide, the guide is on a website and the link will be in the show notes. So that is it from me. I will demo this in episode 26.
Can I just ask, Austin, do you need to get Android 12 in the normal way? This GSI plus GSM isn't Android 12 itself, or is it?
No, it is Android 12, but there's no normal way. The DFU will download it for you.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Yeah.
That sounds really easy. And so, Warren, is there anything you want to say about your experiences with Android 12? Anything from Google I/O last week catch your eye?
Google I/O was monumental. I think this is probably the most important Google I/O we've seen in years, ever since 2014 when Lollipop dropped, because we had a total different design language. And then we have that Material You. Now, there are things that were promised in Android 12, of course, that are not yet here. Some may drop in our next beta cycle, which is going to be sometime next month. And some may not even be till the final release of Android 12 in the fall. Now, there's something that I noticed, and I'm not sure that if this has been there, but there's a way now that if you don't want to swipe down with two fingers from the top to pull down the notifications, you can actually swipe down with two fingers from the very bottom edge of your phone, just like below the dock area, and you can swipe down with two fingers there and open up the notification as well. So I think that is really neat. So you don't have to go all the way to the top like that. So we got two different ways of opening up notifications in Android 12 beta. Now, the way you find this is by going to System Settings. So I am here in my phone.
Settings, Gestures, and List.
And you go to System Settings, then you go to Gestures.
Settings, Gestures, out of list.
And then there's something here that says notifications by default is off.
Pause music, skip songs, /skip to the next, silence interruption, handheld gestures, active edge, on, swipe for notification. Quickly open camera on. Swipe for notifications on.
Swipe for notifications on. If you tap here.
Settings. Swipe for notifications. Swipe down on the bottom edge of the screen to show your notifications. You can't use one-handed mode. When this feature is turned on, switch on and list.
So in other words, what this is saying is that you can turn this on, and so there's an on-off toggle near the top. At the bottom here, where the dialog is, that you can turn on. And what is saying that you can swipe from the bottom of your phone with the two fingers and open up notification shade. But if you have one-handed mode enabled, it's not going to work. So I have turned mine on. So that's one thing that I found to be good. Now, the next thing that I want to talk about quickly here before we move on is that part that I talked about during our special episode last week, and that is using the power button for the assistant. Now, what happens is that if you enable that feature, basically allowing the power button to be used as the trigger for the assistant, what would happen is that when you hold down that power button, for instance, if you want to turn off your phone or restart your phone, you're not going to have the menu for the power off and restart or emergency type of thing. There are a couple ways of mitigating that, or how to go about bringing that to work for you. The first one is you have to actually hold down that power button down for about 10, 11 seconds, and that will restart the phone. It's not going to bring that power menu like the restart, power off, or the emergency. Instead, it restarts. So think of it like what Samsung has if you haven't changed your behavior using the power button, because on Samsung, you do that, it's going to activate Bixby. So that's what Google has done. But I think they're going to change it to where you're going to find that menu in the quick settings. Now, the second method of having access to both the power off, restart, and your payment and all of that is to enable the accessibility button. If you enable the accessibility button and you tap on that accessibility button, then you will see power menu, and you tap on that power menu and you will see things like restart, power off, and your payment preferences. That is the card that you want to use for your default, for your payment in stores and anywhere else that you use Google Pay. So that's what I want to say about Android 12. And then last but not the least is the fact that the two-finger gesture, swiping from the bottom upwards to go home, navigate home, is not working reliably. Most of the time when you do that, it instead brings up the recent apps, and you have to swipe again to go home. Now, I tried something else by going into the system settings, then going into system, then navigation. And there in the navigation, there's a settings in there. So I adjusted the left-right swipes to go back. And by default, they are at 50%. But when you put them at 100%, then the swipe up from the bottom to go home works reliably. However, for some odd reason, after a few minutes or so, it returns back to 50% there where I have made that change. And so that ugly behavior returns. So those are some of the things to bear in mind as you go about getting into the Android 12 beta. And that will be my little update about Android 12 Beta 1.
Thanks, Warren. And obviously, Austin's given us a way we can get that at least temporarily on our phones through the BFU method. So you can go around, see if you can reproduce that, see if you find anything else. If you find any little Easter eggs or anything you think we might be interested in or should feature, do get in touch with us via the usual channels.